Okay, so today is September 6th, 2023. We're going to open the meeting for the Ridgway Sustainability Advisory Board. It is 5:04 p.m. And I'm going to do a quick roll call. Let's head this out. There we go. Okay. Joyce. Here. Dave.
Here.
And Angela, Vicky, Dana, Ken are all absent at this point. JT will be joining us shortly. And then we have Terry is here as an alternate for the council. So we'll go ahead and get started. So Dave, you just had a question.
Yeah, when we established ourselves a year ago, there was some discussion as we were all approved by the town council, how we were going to be sustained and how we were going to add new members each year. And we talked about some people starting off with a 3-year term and some people with a 2-year term and some people with a 1-year term. Has there been any more discussion about that? I don't think
actually, we have that. It's all set. There was a resolution that laid out the terms. So we can look at that. This was all done when you guys, your first couple of meetings.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't have those in front of me, but I know that we did, or it is in there because I talked to, I think that Joyce, you had mentioned something about here a while back about talking about terms and that we didn't have that set up.
But do we know?
And I talked with Preston, he said, no, we have that all together. So there's nothing that is at this point that is,
does anybody on the committee know how long their term is?
I don't know. I wasn't here when this all was set up.
I don't think that discussion has ever been held.
Okay. Well, it was in the beginning, because
I think we discussed setting rotating terms, but we didn't assign any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that the council approved this, let me see if I can pull this up. And we can go through this. Get this pulled up. The terms of the SAB. I have to do this on a separate computer. That's because I can't get on the internet or can't get on the drive here. So let's see here. We can pull all that together for you, but I think if I recall, they were 3-year terms.
I think
That was in the very beginning. There was a meeting that was held. I think it was our first meeting.
Right.
And Dave had mentioned if the committee wanted to continue or move forward with changing the 3-year terms, so not every seat was empty at once.
Right, as a rotating, like they do with council.
Yeah.
There's so many, it's like every other year.
Yeah.
right.
So I can look into that
first
and we
meeting,
can.
but we never discussed it after that.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Okay, so we'll address that.
Well, we already have one seat
Because we do
open.
have, we now have a seat open.
Right.
So we'll have to look at that. I have to pull this up because I don't know what you guys discussed at the beginning of this. So authority and procedures and terms. But we can do that now, or we can go on with the officers meetings. Okay,
Well, I mean, we don't have a quorum to really discuss and make a decision.
we're not doing any decision-making tonight. Yeah, this is just, this is really more of a discussion night.
But it does seem to me that we ought to send out to the group, the fact that, when we were established, we talked about 2 people having 3-year terms, 2 people having 2-year terms, and 2
Okay.
people having 1-year terms, so that we would.
Yeah, so this is what was adopted. This is what is in place right now. The Sustainability Advisory Board shall be composed of not less than 3 members and not more than 7 members. 1 member shall be the town council member, an ex officio town member appointed by the town council. The Ridgway Town Council shall appoint members after candidates complete an application interview. All Sustainability Advisory Board appointees shall be appointed to terms of 3 years. So that's how it actually stands now, is 3 years. In the event of a vacancy should occur during the term of any member, their successor shall be appointed in the same manner for the unexpired portion of the vacancy. So if we have to find somebody to come in, it'll just run for whatever the remainder of the 3 years is. Yeah, and that's typically how
So
it's done itself.
that's a problem, because then you replace the whole council every 3 years. That doesn't sound.
No, I remember it.
No, this is just for this board.
Yeah,
The council is
No.
every 2, it's every 2 years, isn't it?
no, he mistaken that. But I do recall one of the meetings discussion of a staggered approach, so that we would always have some continuity. In
Yeah.
The members, I guess it wasn't adopted.
It was not adopted.
By,
Well, it needs to be decided upon here, then proposed to town council, and then ratify.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
To amend the charter. whatever it is.
okay.
So as of right now, this committee is it's 3 years.
So you could
3-year term.
move, I mean, I'm speaking out of turn, I'm not a member here.
Right.
You could move to create that, you guys vote on it, and then it goes before town council for adoption.
Yeah,
Or
and
modifying the term charter.
and do we have, we have 3 people here. I'm not sure that we can have a vote.
Not,
tonight.
yeah.
No, she was saying we can't do
This
that
is, this is
tonight.
not,
We
yeah,
can't
this
do
is
that.
not a session to do that right now. We don't have enough numbers. So we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
If you could draft the resolution.
Hi folks, sorry I'm tardy. Life's busy.
So JT had requested that we add onto the agenda discussion regarding the drive and ride EV event. Sounds like everything is moving along really well.
Yeah,
A couple updates for you.
good.
Neil took all his Ford F-150s to Malibu, and they have not taken delivery of the Tigers.
Okay,
And I definitely have some other stuff to add to your spreadsheet.
okay. You have some other drivers.
Just people I've actually talked to in town who've, I've mentioned it to, and they said, oh, I'll bring my vehicle down. Still no Mustang now.
No missing, okay.
Although I did,
Yeah,
Josh said there is a possibility that from solar energy, what is it, alternative energy? It's what it is, alternative power energy, yeah.
alternative power enterprise, yeah.
That he said he may let one of his staff guys be open to it, so I kind of pushed him a little bit.
Good.
On the bike, the F-100. Oh, yeah. Or 150, yes.
F-150 electric.
Lightning, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that would be super.
I'm gonna push him again too.
Good, yeah, push them again, and also ask them, do they want to have a table?
Yeah, good point. I know he said that other thing, but
But I don't want his person to man the table and not bring the truck.
all right, I think I might have to stack that table up here then.
Yeah,
Anything else? I did get a hold of the paper that we put the ad in. I saw that you got a hold of the chamber and So that's, and you have people to man the event?
Yeah, I still would love some volunteers, so I don't know, are you around that day?
No,
I did
I'm
Blues and
in,
Brews all weekend.
You'll do, okay,
Yeah. Not available.
yeah, a lot of people are going to tell you,
I
right?
think Kenny's at Blues and Brews too, probably.
Yeah, I mean, the things that are outstanding at this point, I mean, I've got 10 or 12 EVs plus the ones JT is talking about. Plus, I think, maybe one or two more dealer, EVs. And I also talked to Alex from SMPA about, whether they have the possibility to reach out to folks who've gotten EV rebates, and just notify them of the event.
Did he get back to you then?
He and I talked this afternoon, and I was gonna send him a spreadsheet on who I already know about. He said potentially might have the ability to do something like that. So I still need some volunteers, I'll work on that. The permit to drive, is with the town. The lawyer, the permission, the waiver.
Oh, the waiver, I contacted Bo today and left him a message and told him we needed an answer, like right away. So if I said, if we don't hear an answer, I'm assuming we're good to go.
Right.
So I haven't heard back from him.
Okay, so we're good to go.
So, yeah, I don't know. I
Okay.
mean, we have until Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah. Bo, Nerlin, so I'm referring to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Would be good to provide a lunch. I need to figure that out, but, I think probably reached out to Rock to help fund the lunch. So for the EV drivers, provide something for them.
So, you had emailed me about reserving the gazebo.
Yeah, and you
We
said
don't do that, but,
we'll just take it over.
basically just take it over, go in the morning and put a sign up, and, most people are very good
Sure.
about honoring that, so it should be fine.
So we'll just have name tags for the EV drivers, and then that will entitle them to a lunch in the
Yeah.
gazebo. And we have a couple of different tables, although it may be that we have, I don't know, JT, do you want to do a sustainability table, or how?
I was planning on bringing my 10x15 easy up and table and
And we have tables here that I can make sure that we have available,
Good,
bigger
that
tables.
was even longer
Yeah,
than.
we just need to,
That's
I
great.
just need to know how many, because they'll be on the weekends, so
Sure.
they'll have to be left out in the back
okay,
here.
okay,
So just let me know how many,
Sure.
we need to make sure that that's available for you.
okay. Sounds
And
good.
we have folding chairs, massive amounts of folding chairs.
Okay,
So we do, we have like 300, we ordered like 30 folding chairs, and they come, this was years ago, they sent us 300 folding chairs.
all
so
right.
just saw an extra zero? or
And
did
it
you-
didn't, yeah, and they didn't want to take them back, so we have a
Wow,
boo-hoo amount of folding chairs.
okay,
So just give me an idea of what you want, and what we do is we stack all this stuff right against this wall out here.
Yep.
And just, when you're done, put it
Yep.
back there.
okay,
The tables aren't the greatest, but they work.
no, that's fine.
Yeah, just send me an email.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
So we'll have table and chairs, I think Clear will have some general information handouts, so we'll do some of that too.
So do you have anything that needs to be printed out, any flyers or anything that you want printed out? If you do, just send it to me and I can print out a stack.
The flyers, I mean, you've got a copy of the flyer.
I mean, other
I
information.
know Sean from Eco Action Partners put some up in Uray, and we've scattered them through town here.
Where have they been placed in town?
I know at so there was nothing in the post office, but he put one in the grocery store.
I'm putting one out on the board here, the lock board, out here in front of town hall.
Right,
Can I get a few to
Yeah,
add
so-
more in as I go?
Sure.
I hadn't seen any out yet.
sure, yeah, can you print some color? I don't have color capability.
Or you can send them to me, send me the file and I can print them.
Oh, yes.
Later, yeah.
Copies of
Yeah,
flyer? Okay.
yeah, we can, we'll send you a copy.
What I was referring to is, do you have anything that you want the SAB flyers, anything that is specific to SAB or?
I guess that's the question. Yeah, JT, you printed out a number of things, and I've still got a few things of yours in plastic. Do you want to print out some more of those?
Well, you didn't give out that many last time. Did you have a big stack?
No, so I should
So,
still
and those, I think we tailored them so that they would be evergreen.
pretty small,
They weren't event specific.
right? Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if we need any more beyond that,
Right.
especially with the tabletop codes, if we get to a point where
Yeah.
we've given them all out, awesome, but if not, then we'll have the code for people.
Maybe I'll just
And
drop by
that's the
your
flyers
place
that
sometime
you used
and
at the,
give you what.
Save them for that day before, and then I'll just take it home from there.
All right,
is that the SMPA, you used at the SMPA?
Yeah,
Correct.
there was.
Yeah,
nothing
which
else.
had all your website stuff on it and stuff.
right.
Yeah, from the
Yeah,
code that you had
okay,
created,
yeah.
and I think we kept information off there
Okay,
that would,
okay.
So
so it would be,
I'll do an inventory of those and we can.
if we need more, I'll print out.
We can do an email and.
So we're gonna put, the town's gonna put a quarter page ad in the paper on the Thursday before the event. Yeah, so that's also, and
So
then Dave got it onto the chamber.
I think SMPA is, I think there'll be something in the September newsletter as well as on the Facebook page.
I think so. I haven't followed it closely, but
Yeah,
I've seen some exchanges between you and Alex.
right. So,
Just a FYI, it's not decided entirely yet. We may be getting rid of the EV rebate next year. For the reason that there's so many other incentives available that really ours isn't instrumental in getting somebody over the edge on getting EV, but we'll take that money and put it into rebates for upgrading your service panel or things that would enable you to charge your EV,
right,
which is more of an enabling. We think that might be a better use of the incentive because you can, wealthy people don't need an EV rebate to buy an EV. They don't need a rebate to put in upgrade their panel, put in a charger. But less wealthy people who buy an EV all of a sudden get sticker shock. What do you mean I got to upgrade my service panel from 200 to 400 amps and I've got to, put in a $3,000 charger. So I think that may be a better use of the incentive for raising from the bottom up kind of thing. So I'm curious to get your feedback if you don't think that's a good idea, but that's kind of what we've been talking about internally.
Well, that's good to know, heads up wise, as far as
Right.
conversation.
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, man.
I lost when does the announcement's up already, but he said something about Facebook as well. Is it
Yeah,
already on there?
it's not on Facebook yet. I mean, we can put it on now. I tend to think that the closer to the event, the better timing, because it'll get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the same time the ad goes out, and then do it on virtual response.
So that's just
Which is our-
2 days. Maybe the Facebook should be a little bit earlier.
Okay,
And that's why I was gonna say, a lot of the way, the formula I've used with music and promotion,
so put
is
Facebook.
a couple weeks out and then refresh it.
Okay, so we can do Facebook, now,
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
and then,
because it gives
we
other
do a
people an
virtual
opportunity to
response as
share it.
well. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So virtual response is you guys all know what that is, right?
No,
Okay, so the town has a massive email list. People sign up to get all the notifications on water leaks, whatever's going on in the town. And so we send that kind of stuff out on virtual response.
that's the platform.
Yeah.
Sorry, Deb, I didn't mean to
No,
put
that's
more
great.
work onto you redundantly, but I know
That's
that
okay.
I know that even when I first and that's kind of something from like SAB side. I know your staff and the divisions, but those are the kind of things like I'd be happy to do. Like I'm interested in getting an Instagram page for SAB as well.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
So, and
Yeah.
keeping
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
moving.
sure. No, that's awesome. So do we have anything else on this topic? Because we have a big topic coming up as well.
I guess the other thing that I debate a little bit is doing a survey for the people who attend, put a survey together. And one thing I'd like to know is whether people think we should do it again next year, like for Earth Day next year. Once you've done it once, it's going to be easier the second time. And, you know, it might be
I think given the fact that we're gonna be 2 weeks out now, I mean, I guess we could throw together a survey,
Like-
or if we just have.
Right.
Have everybody sign up who attended, that then we can send out an all digital survey
Right.
along those lines.
yeah,
Are you inclined for something like that, or did you want to have like a paper survey there?
yeah, yeah, let's think about the options as good ideas. I mean, certainly with the EV drivers who attend, we can get their emails and survey them.
Well, and I wonder, I mean, this is multiple organizations. We've got Clear, we got Eco Action, right? So it might be worthwhile powwowing with them. They may already have something like
Yeah,
that.
although, because unfortunately, the weekend we picked, we don't have anybody from SMPA there. We essentially have nobody from Eco Action Partners. You know, I mean, Sean will be there, but the ride and drive people are not there. So I think any other event we do will have better participation from others than we will for this one.
That time, what time does it start? Just remind me.
10 to 2.
At 2?
Yeah.
I might be able to drop in for a little bit. I got out of state.
Yeah.
Probably here from the news.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. I think we'll be fine. We've got, you know, got a good group, but I think, you know, we certainly could do it again. And
In some ways, you know, become really good before you become big. So even if it's not big, we will glean lessons from it, right?
Right.
I think any way of getting the information out to people and then letting them know that there's a SAB is alive and there's all these things that they want to do, you guys want to do. It's a momentum thing.
Yeah,
So I
and
think starting out, it might be a little low, but you know, it's just, it's
Well,
gonna be a kind of a
I mean,
progression.
yeah, I think it'll be fine. I mean, when they did it down in Village, they had 2 meetings for their ride and drive event. I mean, we'll have, I'm sure, a dozen or more. So it'll be a good event.
It's like the first concert series.
I think if we,
It was just a few people.
I think if we,
the first ones we did in Paonia 20 years ago.
I was at that first concert series. I helped put that together.
Here.
Here, yeah.
I think if we did it for Earth Day next year, it would be good to have lawn tools, electric lawnmowers, and, you know, trying to help push that along. So, but anyway, we'll talk about that more later, but I just want to throw that out as an idea.
Well, let's, sooner than later, like like after this meeting, next couple of days, let's communicate about the survey and figure out our tact on that.
Yeah.
On the best way to do that.
Yeah.
And given the fact that Eco Action won't be there, Clear might be, we should find out if they are doing something like that, if that's part of their plan already. But regardless, from SAB, just anything we send out,
Right.
you know, spreads.
Does Eco Action currently do an Earth Day? Don't they do big thing for Earth Day?
A big one.
Do they do
Never.
something for Earth Day now? I mean, do they have an event that they do?
You know, we did one with SMPA a couple of years ago, and we had our DBA parade associated with that, but I'm not aware.
It was just an element of a larger event.
Yeah.
So,
I think for all of our stuff with SAB, I think we also need to think about unlikely partners. Earth Day is one thing, but we get the same, we're preaching the choir. So like, that's why I wanted to get Pat Willits down with the Polarises from ranches and get other ranchers here. You know, contractors who are trying to move to electric utility and stuff like that.
yeah,
But I think always thinking outside of the tranche of just greenies
right.
is important no matter what we do.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, good. I don't think I have anything else.
So if we can move on to item 2, before we get started, I just wanted to, when I put this agenda together, prioritize projects, initiatives. So when you guys first had the board together, I think you guys all had an opportunity to put down your wish list, your goals, what you wanted to do, what you wanted to see this committee do. So I don't have that information, but from that, you all pulled together the section of the strategic plan that for 2023. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but every objective that you had on there, you've met. So it was like check, check, check. So that's awesome. So I don't know if you all are aware of what those were, but anyway, they all got done. So what we're looking at now is, as on the staff perspective, and what Preston's looking for is the same type of thing. What do you guys want to see this year, in this coming year? What are your top priorities that you would like to see happen that's realistic? And so what I did was, since we adopted the CAP, Climate Action Plan, and we went through that whole process of going through each of the items and really getting into the details of that. I do have that available. If that's something you guys want to look at as we go through this. This is just one of many meetings to figure out what we want to put on the strategic plan. Because again, we're missing 3 people for this, which we need to have input from everyone. But so we can look at that, but yeah, that's the goal of this whole working thing right now, is to figure out what we want on the strategic, or what you guys want on the strategic plan to be your goals for 2024, as we go through the budget process right now.
So along the lines of the CAP,
Mhm.
the CAP laid out a number of goals.
Yes,
It might be interesting to review those to see which of those goals could be implemented.
yes, and that's that. I do have that here. Now let's see, do I have it in the right kind of format? It should be for Ridgway, Town of Ridgway. So this is what we have for the different categories: community engagement and policy. I mean, you know, there's a lot of categories here. So, you know, building, energy sections, so we can go through all of that. Transportation and aviation, waste and material section. So maybe this meeting could just be, where do you want to focus first?
Are these the generic ones from the whole?
Oh, no,
CAP?
this is actually,
This is the Ridgway specific?
this is Ridgway specific. This is the CAP for Ridgway.
Share drive by chance, this.
Okay, so
Let's see.
this is what we all went through that one meeting. Let me see if this is why I have 2 computers. So I can email this to you guys over here. I figured that's gonna be the best way to get things done, because let's see here. So I will share this with you. In an email right now.
Great.
So do you all have? Okay, so this is the CAP that we have, that's a working document. So this is changing as we proceed through things. So I'm just gonna email this to you. But what I have right here is just the Ridgway tab.
You don't have the tabs down below, or you just.
No, I just copied I just did the Ridgway. I mean,
But that's great, I mean.
yeah, this just focuses on Ridgway. Okay. This will be,
Got it, it's the tracker, yeah.
okay. Yeah, the tracker. Is that what you want to call it? I'm gonna put it, I'm
Did
gonna,
you just send it through, Deb?
yep, I'm sending it right now. Okay, you should have it shortly.
Terry, what's the status on the space to create solar battery and all that?
So, I did not put in for a planning grant for that because we'd already done a fair amount of planning. I had an appointment with Josh over here at 8 to go do a
Joyce, did you get it?
walkthrough.
I just
building
got it.
To
I'm just
determine
refreshing.
if in fact
Is
they
it-
actually installed the conduit.
Through, okay.
Right.
And then look for the.
So that one
space.
should have
Basically,
all
some
the
of
tabs.
Final details to come up with a proposed design that I will then use to write in for a construction grant once it opens up. And I can open up.
Let's just check and see.
Question on
Which-
that.
Which only SMPA can write because they're utilities, co-ops, municipalities are the only eligible entity for those grants.
Are we gonna face any issues in terms of height, given the variances that were already given to?
I don't think so. I think the array would
So
would not be.
did you get, everybody got that? So there's a lot of information here. So I don't know where you want to start.
I doubt it would be visible.
Okay, sorry, let's not, sorry, we're all stepping on each other today. Or at least I am stepping on each other's. Let's start from the top and just
Okay.
scroll through.
Terry, did you get it, Terry, or not?
I got what you just said, yes.
Okay, and JT, you got it?
I already brought it up, yeah.
So this is what we're seeing on the screen is just the Ridgway tab. So community engagement and policies. So JT, take it away.
So as Deb said, the top one, yes, that's been approved by council, that's official. And moving down through all of these, actually, I can see that better up there. Well, the C and P, number 1. I'm looking at that, but I'm not, it's not coming to me. Do you guys have suggestions? Are there things that we need to do within that to further that along?
I think it's prioritizing what you want to do this coming year. I think it's really rough.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, looking at this list, it's gonna be hard to it's obviously a lengthy list and it may make sense for us to kind of review this on our own and then maybe put some stuff on there. I just don't know if we,
You don't want to go through every single one right now, is your thought?
It's a lot.
You can read it to us,
It's
it's 72 lines.
But do you, maybe we start with, what do you, right now, personally, at this point, what do you see as your top priority?
Right.
Sorry,
And-
JT, go ahead.
And I do think items that are, have maybe, for me, I'm looking at items that have not started, right? Like if it's already in progress, then maybe it's the ball's already moving forward, but if it hasn't been started, then maybe there just needs to be a liaison to trigger that.
Some of these say they're in progress, but I wouldn't really say progress.
Okay,
For instance, installing solar on government buildings. Well, that was in progress because we put it on the bathroom over there.
That's completed.
Yeah, but, over the park.
Mhm.
But that's the only progress, and there's no other progress that's being considered right now. And that's one that we might consider.
Okay.
You could stretch the space to create to qualify for that.
Well, that's why I asked about that actually, so, but,
If you consider the community center a government.
Right.
Building.
but, yeah, I mean, there's some of these,
The upshot of here is we have 8 categories
Mhm.
in here. Let me reverse engineer this and ask us you already brought up the ones that haven't even been set in motion, but is there anything we feel that's being neglected that should rise to the top right off the bat, or should that also fall under, we all get to review this and then feedback in on an email thread about what our respective priorities would be, so that we feel like stakeholders as members of this group.
Because honestly, everything that's on here is important.
Yeah,
So it's really, what do you see that is attainable in this next year? And this next, what do you want to see?
Well,
A lot. I
one of the
hope.
biggest things that we have is, and for some reason, Deb, looking at the agenda on the board just now made me realize that the way you had this setting up the priorities is, I thought we were specifically going to be working on the issues of beneficial electrification today.
No, there was
I
no
just find it-
electrification, it wasn't, the agenda was really more of just prioritize projects, initiatives to recommend to town council for the 2024 work plan.
And what I inserted in there with my mind, which is why I asked Terry especially to be here in person today, was to work on the beneficial electrification objectives. so that
Well,
we could-
this is your board, so whatever you guys wanna
I think those are,
focus on is totally up to you.
I think those are among our most important areas, so maybe
Okay.
we ought to talk about those and we can add the others later since we have Terry.
Could I make a motion for today's agenda that we switch from trying to target all of these in the cap, in the tracker, and move specifically, given the four of us today in the same room, to prioritize what I can bring to council in terms of paying attention to beneficial electrification moving forward in 2024.
Sure.
So 2024 is going to be more about electrification.
As it, we all know that's the top priority, especially given the rewriting of chapter 7. And and given the code and stuff that we've been working on through
So,
this year with Kim, I think that.
so it's not really a need to change the agenda.
We can just
You
focus,
just have just noted that that's what you want it to be.
we're gonna
so-
focus on,
Yeah,
on energy issues related to our
That's what
priorities
you-
for town
yeah.
council, moving forward into the planning portion of the year in the final quarter. Are you guys cool with that?
Where are we now with the code?
still getting ready to do some public outreach. We have, right now, we have that going on, we have the athletic park plan, so it's all trying to not overwhelm the community with so much stuff, but
Sure.
they're working on it right now, for sure.
Do we have a?
I don't have a date, I don't have a date, but we're still shooting for everything being adopted by the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, that has not changed, for sure.
Students, said they're working on it.
Preston is working with TJ and trying to pull all that together so that we can start getting some public outreach and some public committees and doing, yeah.
In
So-
particular, it's the all-electric EV and solar ready.
Yeah, there's chapter 7 updates, then there's the new energy code updates. All that stuff has to be brought to the public and to the stakeholders, just as we do with everything. So it's just getting it with the staff that we have.
So with, knowing that that's in motion from a town manager, consultant perspective, for us to distill down the pros and cons of this, because like I know you guys differ on what we should swing for in terms of town objectives. As far as beneficial
Right.
or mandatory electrification.
Right.
It sounds like we still can function setting our priorities as Sustainability Advisory Board to go to the council with that, even at the same time that
Absolutely,
Preston and
absolutely, yeah.
so.
Yeah, because, you guys have already recommended to council about the updates to the code. You've already recommended or put out your thoughts. It hasn't been officially brought out there as far as the electrification, the new codes but that's still coming. So that's when you guys will have that option. But this is totally, yeah, absolutely. You are going to go forward with whatever you want to see happen. So it's your input needs to go to council. So
As a recommendation.
I know that was kind of a blurry blah, blah, but
That's okay.
you know what I mean?
But it means we as a independently as Sustainability Advisory Board can go sort through the beneficial mandatory electrification stuff, come
Absolutely.
up with a coherent punch list of pros and cons, tease that apart clearly so that the council can have that ahead of time before even go to Preston and TJ and say, these are the things that we're looking at and these are our opinions, so that we can function as participants in this process.
Oh, of course. In fact, when this all starts coming together as far as the electrification and the new energy code stuff, this is gonna come to you before it goes to the public. It's definitely coming to this board before it goes to the public.
Before it goes to then the council.
Exactly, before it goes to the council. So there's the process of, it's gonna come here, once they put it together and look at it. And then you're gonna make a recommendation, and then it's gonna go to council, and then it's gonna go to public comment, and then it'll get adopted, however that's gonna happen.
So good. And
So
that-
there's this whole process that has to happen within the next, what are we in, September?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that was my sense. And I just didn't know that Preston and TJ were actively already working on it.
Oh, yeah, they're working on it. Yeah, they're
So-
working on it to then present it to you guys so that you can look at it and have your input on it.
Okay.
So there is, you are they're next in line to review this of what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a lot in that whole new energy code,
A lot, yeah.
a lot.
Which is why I was trying to,
Yeah,
especially when I found out today, to just effectively thinking about those of us who spend a lot of time paying attention to.
right, yeah.
And you fully invested, and also coming up with tact, because there's gonna be an interesting point as we navigate all of this with the town, you and I both being counselors. And us as a group, and also from the other side of it,
Excuse me.
being a counselor, I want to make sure that it's, what I bring to council is Sustainability Advisory Board, not
So-
JT's ideas. And so I wanted to make sure that we have the difference of opinions. in
So my
tactical-
discussion with Preston was once he and JT,
TJ,
or TJ, I don't,
it's all right.
sorry,
He's my cousin
there's
from.
so many
Guatemala.
initials.
These are inverse.
They get through their process, then it'll come to the board.
Mhm.
And then from there, it moves on. So
Okay.
So-
absolutely, it's not just them going to council.
And assuming.
That's the whole purpose of this board, is to go through and make sure that this is,
Right, that process will work through and will require homes to be electric ready. But we all want the next step. We want them not only to be electric ready, but we want them to be all electric. I think that's something that this group for next year, part of our educational push and our getting out there is educating people. All right, yeah, you're required to put in these electric wires, and please don't just put in the wires and increase your cost, actually lower your cost and put in the electrical appliances.
And that's the stuff I want to make sure that we tease out and slay any jargon and assumption of what we already are familiar with.
Right.
Because even just the statement of the code for beneficial versus full electric is going to be, it's first to the council itself, as educated as it is, but also then for the public. So to make sure that we have a clear link between that next step.
Right.
And I continue to maintain, or I continue to promote that even all electric is still a stepping stone to what the actual goal is. And so that's the part of it we haven't collectively as the board, because I'm not a full member, discussed in earnest, which is,
Net zero.
should the ultimate goal be net zero, which is what many communities are striving for. All electric is just a means to that. It's not the end. It's just a stepping stone. So, I'll get back on my pitch again. If net zero, which is, and just to define that, it's the idea that a new construction is energy neutral, that it generates as much electricity or as much energy as it uses. It's easier to do that if it's all electric, because it's hard to offset the use of gas by some renewable generation or or something that zeroes that out. But assuming that net zero, then there needs to be a backwards timeline to get to that. The all electric ready is the first step, all electric is the second step. Net zero then is the requirement in some time frame that new construction offset all of their energy use. And that's in my mind, that was the goal of stimulating the conversation. And,
Right.
and we sort of got lost in the all electric versus electric. But that's just an interim step. It's not the actual end goal.
Sure, it's the mechanical part of it, and that's why I wanted you guys both in the room, because even though I've made you tell me separately outside of it, and read our various emails backwards, wanting to figure out if the objective of the Sustainability Advisory Board is to promote net zero for the town of Ridgway, and if that is our goal, is that the main thing that we want to articulate and promote, and with the explanation of how we would get there and in what phases. Does that sound clear to you guys? Because I see there's doubt.
Yeah, I mean, Terry and I could debate this one, but I mean, we all want clean electricity. We all want carbon-free electricity. Whether you build it on your roof or I get it through Terry's power lines, doesn't matter.
We're totally
Doesn't
clear.
matter where it's generated. It is nice to have local because, it makes us, more responsive to emergencies and whatnot. But we want totally green. We want green electricity. Personally, I don't think that it should be a requirement that every home generate enough electricity. We put
That's just
SMPA
that's
as
just
business.
one option, one mechanism.
Right. Great,
But
they
the
can
goal
generate it.
is the thing we're trying to decide on is the goal that new construction have all of its energy use offset by non-fossil fuel generation.
So they either buy green energy or make green energy. Yeah,
Those are the mechanisms.
I'm fine with that.
Feed into that.
So, and this is my offhand way of trying to unpack all of the jargon and then
Right.
slay it,
Right.
right? Are we gonna be like, trying to promote Ridgway as like, we're gonna go totally green and piggyback on that program and use that? Or are we as a board, are we gonna chart out a path towards net zero? Is that
Qualified
collectively?
for new construction, because it's difficult to mandate that for existing construction. And you can find ways to eventually transition to it.
Yeah, well, and I'm not unpacking that part of the mandates on that. But just trying to move forward, if the goal is to try to make the town and the community net zero, carbon neutral, to be able to understand that as one simple objective and agreeing upon the language of that, how do we get there? Knowing that there are gonna be things that we can't do, like retrofit and achieve that per home. But moving forward with new construction, do we target residential? Do we focus on commercial? Do we mandate it for multi-unit kind of development? If there are deed restricted things within affordable workforce housing, is that mandated to be all electric, not just by default with better homes? So I'm trying to give us a beacon on the hill to have everybody clearly understand that that's what the goal as a stakeholder in this town is. And then to get there, to be very clear what those mechanisms are, right? So like for me, as I think about, it's why it's been so hard to unpack, given the amount of information out there and IRA monies and all of that. When I go to council, I want to be able to give them not just maybe a little bit more mature than Cliff Notes, but really trying to find a proactive goal for this town phase in this process of why are we doing this new state code? Why are we reaching for the 2024 IECC standards? So I want to be able to show the goal out there and then have everybody start to understand the different mechanisms and the pros and cons of those. And I would like the town council to know that stuff before we go into a budgetary discussion at the end of the year.
As well as demonstrating precedent. I mean, I think, so my personal goal of all new construction being net zero and then a phasing mechanism to slowly, decarbonize existing structures. That's going to take a longer time period. It's through attrition of energy use devices, appliances, etc. But looking at major metropolises, New York City, Los Angeles, a few other major ones, Gunnison, Preston View, they've set the beacon on the hill as carbon neutral for new construction. So that's what that is the end point that we're aiming for. And then all of these mechanisms, all electric ready, eventually all electric, delineated between residential and commercial with different time schedules, are the ways you approach that beacon on the hill. But I think, to your point, to my place, what I'm promoting is that this advisory board ought to go to council and say, this is the goal we're aiming at, this is the timeline we hope to achieve that in, and here's why, and here's precedent, here's examples. So we show case studies that it's been done elsewhere. Here's the bumps in the road that they've experienced, here's the pros and the cons, but here's the goal. And then working backwards from that, the first step is this code, the current code revision. The next code revision might require all electric, period, for all new construction, broken between commercial and residential. Then net zero is going to require numerous mechanisms to achieve that, one of which is self-generation, one is participation in a totally green program, one is hoping something out of your control, like the utilities going to switch to 100% renewables. That's out of your control. Things that are in the control of the consumer in this town are the things that they have the ability to effectuate themselves. And that plays backwards into this idea of the local microgrid. Right? So the microgrid, the way I'm trying to design it, with part of it being on town property, would give the town access to participate in that solar array in order to achieve that goal of net zero. So it's giving them another mechanism, another tool to get there without putting solar on your roof or various other potential options. Those options are going to evolve in the time frame that we set out. So if we set net zero here, let's just pick a date, it's 2028. Working backwards, the all electric approach to get to that point enables that a lot easier than if they had gas. I mean, we could just outlaw gas. Some communities have done that.
You got to get away from gas.
Yeah, I mean, some communities have chosen not to say we require all electric, they say you just can't have gas.
Right.
It's kind of a facto approach. But all of the other ways to get to net zero, some of which are going to evolve based on time, and some of which is based on things out of control. For example, the mix in the utility supply is gravitating towards more renewables. It's never going to be 100%, not from tri-state. If SMBA can manage to pull it off, it's a different story. But how do you achieve net zero by this date, given the status of your supply mix, and what are your options? And those are the things that would have to be fleshed out later. We can't flesh them out now. And we have examples of it.
But
Can I just say something?
I want to inject something really quickly though about Terry, and in this cat. Terry has this know-how, and you've shared this repeatedly to town council. I think sometimes even amongst our cohorts, people gloss over because you know so much, and it's not intelligent. It's not distilled down. I think being able to know that we're going to put this beacon on the hill of net zero is the goal, and then to be able to back off from that, and then in very clean packages, be able to hand consumers the understanding that they will help enable you in this other tier achieve that. But these are the mechanisms that you can do as a local stakeholder. And I really want to work really hard to distill this stuff down, because otherwise people gloss over and it's not actionable. And so I'd like to get to a point where we can take infect the community with the parlance that we're going, parlance sounds very witty, to get to net zero. And if people talk about that, then we can then infuse and have all of those mechanisms ready for them in a clear way. So we can empower them to sign up for totally green, to get behind the microgrid that we want to do on town. And maybe that'll rise priority over a baseball diamond or a soccer field. And I said that on the record, and I'll take it on the chin because that's what I want to champion. It's where my values. And as a committee, I think we share that.
Right now, we're just talking about the building sector, right? I mean, you can try to get to carbon neutral in the transportation sector. You can eventually require that any new vehicle purchased by some date has to be all electric. some communities are going to that extent as well. The aviation.
So I'm gonna interject, because I think, we're getting, I think you guys have got these, everybody has this idea of what they want to see, and it's awesome, because the passion is there. But we need to focus on what our objectives is right now. And our objective right now is to, because we are in September and we are coming up on budget, is to decide what you guys want to see in this coming year. What is a feasible goal that we can do in the next 12 months?
Got it,
So-
and I don't expect all of the things with. If I'm hoping that we will decide today that our.
Well, I don't think we can decide today
No, no,
because
no,
there's
let me
3
finish
members
the sentence.
missing.
Let me
Yeah,
finish the sentence, is if our goal as an advisory board is to get to goal 0, and we agree on that, then we can easily work back and prioritize all the things that are on the cap, right? So I just wanted to get to that point. So,
Right,
because
but
I think that's, and I know what you're trying to get to, you want line items specified going into the budget.
but I
cycle.
want the other members of this board to be present, to put their input in about what they want to see as well.
Of course.
And so I think that it's really, this is a time for all of you to go, okay, what are the things that we can do in this upcoming year? Yes, I'm, because we have to have these things
Ready.
ready, yeah. So what are they? What is it that you as individuals of this board want to see happen to get to where you want to be as a board? Ultimately, net zero, whatever. In this coming year, what can we do to get us one step closer?
To execute that, to make it actionable on.
Exactly. So
and
that's
move
what
it
I'm
up as
saying,
a
it's
priority.
just that we can talk and talk and talk about these, what we'd like, what we want to see, the passion that you all have, which is awesome.
Well, just
Oh.
sticking with this for just a moment, if what we're talking about, and I hear what you're saying.
I'm not disregarding anything.
No,
that's-
but I'm
I know
trying
what
to
you're
work
getting,
back
but
into what you.
Yeah.
You're not mutually exclusive. I
Yeah.
mean,
One of the
we
things.
still we don't have a dominant goal for this board that has ever been verbalized. So I'm really trying to put the pressure
Yeah.
in that
Okay.
even if the people that aren't here tonight, I can go to them and say, we've decided that we really are focusing as best we can to get to net zero. So now go through the 8 categories that are in here in the cap and the different sectors, and let's discuss, which we can continue
Sure.
doing practically today
Sure.
to prioritize those.
But
So
e-
get a
but
general
even the-
consensus of what the goal is for the.
But Deb, even that goal, if it's agreed upon by this board, that's the goal, that all of these things you're working towards are aiming at, that's what you're focused towards, to converge to that. That goal needs to be ratified by the town council. So that then it comes back to this board as a charter to work towards that. So that's an actual action item, is to get the town council to say, we agree, based on the advice of the Sustainability Advisory Board, that by X date, we're going to have mechanisms that enable all new construction to be net zero. And that is something that
Okay.
can be taken to the council. It hasn't been taken to the council yet. They devised this board to go flesh out what the priorities are. And if the board says one of the biggest priorities is to get to net zero, then that's a major accomplishment from the
Yeah.
board. The board then comes back to council and says, we agree. this is
I'm
the end
not
of the
disagreeing with you at all.
Yeah.
At
It
all.
hasn't been brought before council.
It hasn't been brought before council.
This doesn't
So
brought before here.
you actually have 2 tasks in front of you. Yeah, so, I'm trying to keep us focused on this, but I do understand what you're saying.
You're trying to identify the bricks in the building. We're trying to describe what the building looks like.
Yeah, I understand, yeah. And I think it can all be done at the same time. I mean-
It has to, but I also know from our cohorts, Terry and I are constantly communicating on this kind of stuff, and he does it every day at his desk. I do it in my off time to try to figure out how to distill down the best things that I can articulate to my cohorts on council And they're gonna, if I can go to them right now, and that's why I think this is a 30,000 foot view of the building. I think it's really important, both for us to have a coherent understanding that we want to get to net zero. That's our goal. If I can get the council to commit to that, then I can easily feed it into them, the mechanisms, because they will be wanting them. And so I just want to start from the top down. So
I totally understand where you're at.
so that's why I wasn't trying to
No,
to
I
get into the
know.
weeds of it. I'm not arguing with you on that, but I also think it's really important for us because I don't think we have a collective, coherent board goal right now. And I would venture to say that Dana, Angela, Vicky's obviously stepping away, and Kenny
Ken.
would agree, but we'll find out
Mhm.
formally, if they do want to go to the board and ask the board to commit, the council to commit the town of Ridgway to aim for net zero. And if we do that, then I can explain to them going into our October, November meetings with the budget, that these are our top priorities, right? So even if we come up with 3 rough ones right now, I think that would.
Yeah, I was not expecting anybody to come up with anything tonight, for sure. This was just a discussion to see where you're at.
Okay.
So it sounds like the priority of this board right now is to determine what your major goal is, what you really want to see the ultimate outcome be. And so then we go from there, right?
I think I want to be able to stand at the podium, look back at my cohorts and say, as the representative from the Sustainability Advisory Board, we all agree that Ridgway really needs to prioritize achieving net zero.
And this is how we want
To
to
get there, here is the cliff notes of the mechanisms, and here is an understanding that this involves every sector of what we do in planning and
Sure.
regulation. And as a board, we will work with the council to provide you that best information with the pros and cons so that you know how to chart this path forward.
Okay.
That's what I want to get to.
I like what y'all are saying. I think that we need to make it clear that as we try to get to net zero, okay, step 1 was electric ready, okay?
Yeah.
Step 2 is all electric, and then we're focused, and so this year, we're trying to, get electric ready, all right? So we do our code revision, we're electric ready.
That
We
will be
do
done
that
this
this year, then next year, we really want to sell all electric. We really want to your house, your new home to not only be electric ready, but we want you to put in electric appliances and heat pumps
And some of that timeline needs to be looked at in the context of supply availability, contract availability, all the things that allow that to happen. So it may be that the all electric isn't next year, it's 2 years from now,
Right.
whatever we work through. But
Right.
certainly with this first baby step of all electric ready, the code adoption is adopted by the state. Perfect first step, right? That's,
That's
but
right.
laying out that entire roadmap to get to that. And it may, we may creep, over time.
Sure.
based on-
We get that, council
Right.
doesn't,
Right,
let alone the
but I
stakeholders.
want them
They're
to,
gonna be
I
reacting.
want them to understand, okay, here's what we're doing this year. And then we're gonna start working on this all electric, and I don't know how long that's gonna take, but next year, we really want to push all
That's
electric.
exactly what I'm asking.
And see if we
Want
can
some sort of
get
a-
people to adopt heat pumps, get people to, make those electric choices when they're either building or retrofitting or, whatever. So I think that's something this committee will be, really interested in. When we have the all electric now, help people actually be all electric. And, we have the all electric or electric ready requirement, help people be all electric. How do we?
Well, and then
How's
that's,
that
to that
happen?
point, I think then our task is to make a document, a working document that shows what our roadmap to net zero is,
Sure, I like that.
both in mechanism and in timeline. And that's where I was trying to get to, without having to, and I don't expect council, all members to read the new state code.
Right.
But I want to be able to, in real time, in elevators, be very clear that what the differences are between all electric versus
Right.
electric ready, all electric and mandatory, and trying to figure out which one is appropriate for the different sectors.
I also think it's incumbent upon this committee in presentation of that goal and the roadmap to be able to educate the council and eventually educate the public as to why are we doing this? What's the reason behind it?
Right.
And say, you know, the reason behind it is X, Y, and Z. The roadmap is going to identify the steps to get there. But you know, in order to get the town to adopt that goal, we have to convince the town council that there's a good reason to adopt that goal. And there's also precedent. There's other examples of other communities doing it, the same reason we're doing it, and show that we're not just pulling this out of our ass. This is something that is happening across the nation. And either we are laggers, we're leaders, or we're right in the middle somewhere. And you know, if we choose to be progressive and aggressive, we can be a leader in this and be an example for other communities. Like Crested Butte has become an example, and they've shared with us some of the road, bumps in the road that they've experienced. We're going to go to school on that. We're going to do this in a systematic and very diligent way.
Right.
We're going to do our DD, and you know, after all electric, the next maybe major takedown. What are the mechanisms to allow for the offset? What's available to us now? What's potentially coming down the pike in the future? And that, of course, plays back into my backhand desire to put the microgrid into solar, because it's eventually going to be a mechanism that allows that to happen. But there's a timing issue. I've got grant money that I need to look at now to get that in play.
And baseball players, pickleball players coming out of the woodwork.
Mhm.
And newly.
With the Crested Butte stuff and some of the other communities that are kind of saying that new construction maybe needs to be net zero or carbon neutral, do they have any information on if there is like an X% increase in cost that has gone?
They actually have a presentation.
They do.
showed
Crescent View
actually
Compass.
savings.
That was their overarching document, which actually
Well,
ended up.
okay,
as council
but
plan.
what's something presented by Compass and that's in theory versus what's happening when a developer and construction contractor is doing it often differs. So I'm wondering if there's real world information of like,
Oh, yeah.
there's maybe capital cost for a heat pump is a little bit more, but it saves the residents. And those are the things that I saw in Compass. But what I think I just want to better understand is, Ridgway's, like many communities, looking at trying to provide affordable housing. And these developers, if you tell them they need to put X, Y, and Z in, they'll put more in. It doesn't cost them any more. It's their capital funds. But that gets passed on ultimately to who the purchaser is. And then it's marked up. So I just want some real actual information from developers.
That's going water engineering.
Huh?
Are you a water engineer?
Yes, and that's going to evolve. So there are examples of that today,
Right.
based on what's been done. There's also projections of how that's going to be in the future.
Mhm.
This committee will have to keep up with that. We'll have to keep
Yeah.
up with the real-time examples. The one that Crested Butte showed it was actually a savings to do it this way, right up front. And that's based on today's technology, lack of availability, lack of contractors. As that matures, as the demand increases, the supply increases, the
Mhm.
contractors meet that demand, it's going to become less and less. But it's up to us to demonstrate that with real
Right.
data and show that that's the case. And it could be that it'd be great if it all works out to where it's less expensive to be.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may be that that's not the case, in which case we have to decide over the course of that roadmap where we inject those requirements.
And that's where I just want to be cautious and think about when we start discussing timelines, like having that information, because what I wouldn't want is to recommend to council that we say all new construction needs to be net zero. And then what turns out happening is like all of our developments now are 30+% higher to whoever's purchasing. And we're like, shoot, we were already unaffordable and now we're incredibly unaffordable.
I hear you on that, and actually, I have been in the weeds teasing that stuff apart. I mean, even with Crescent View, they recognized they should have had developers in the room a lot earlier on, and that's where it backfired.
Mhm.
And not just having in the room, but have all of those potential options to keep those costs down. Understood. I think having this objective of net zero and then being able to figure out as a board, what are the voids are, what are the pieces of information, what are the comps and the analogs have that all ready and being able to present that
Over
really
time,
quick,
as it
really
goes.
quickly. But I think having that collective goal right now, because as you mentioned affordable housing, right off the bat, I'm starting to change, I can say, my personal tune, looking at the available development opportunities in this town. And the biggest question for me right now is the fact that, and I just had constant emails back and forth the last 2 weeks with Preston and John about the way town interfaces with the county and the municipality of the city of Uray. We have these intergovernmental agreements, but we only end up being reactive to, on a case-by-case basis for unincorporated lands when those two run into each other, which will happen with the microgrid, for instance. So what I finally understand now is that I have this idealistic belief that we're all going to communicate and collaborate, given the fact that we have limited amount of incorporated land that's going to stay at a high price. I think that every other community that's faced that kind of growth, which I think is inevitable in Ridgway, we're going to have to engage in boundaries. We're going to be rubbing up against these different boundaries repeatedly over time. And so then knowing right now, Preston is an inside the box thinker, John's an inside the box thinker, and they're like, we're just different entities and organizations. And that's the final answer I've gotten from them at the end of the day. Different institutions, we have different objectives, we have different goals, we have different stakeholders, different personalities. I hear that, but we are going to end up with more and more development pressure over time. You look at and I'm sorry to be on my soapbox, you look at the consequences of Boulder with the super successful green space, and now even the university is pushing back at that and wanting land back so that they can continue to grow, right? So, Tom, to tell you right, price definitely escalated because of the success of the Valley floor, right? So Ridgway, inevitably, unless Wolf Ranch, the elephant, explodes and that becomes part of major development, we're going to be pushing into unincorporated areas. So if we as a board have a goal that we can get council to really think about how across all sectors, we have this objective to get towards net zero, then everything that we do, it's like reverting back to a mission statement and saying, this is part of our ethical community values that we want to get to. And if that is the overarching goal, then we do the homework and we provide that information to the council so that they have at their hands the punch list of the pros and cons of if we go this direction versus this direction, how can they then execute?
Well, and it becomes a filter for decisions on lots of other things.
Correct.
Like land use decisions and transportation decisions and CDOT interaction. Having that as the common denominator, for lack of a term, helps guide, just like our master plan, helps guide our decisions in all areas.
In my mind, it's a proactive way to Miyagi the moment to when another entity says, oh, it sounds like you guys are anti-development. No, the goal is not to be anti-development or get characterized that way, or to have the perception of us that way, but to be able to create an environment in which we can say, no, we are definitely want to grow, develop, have progress in this community. Dana might just say, no, we can't do that because we're in a climate crisis and everyone's going to die anyway. But I mean, if in my practical perspective, and I can only sell mine, and I hope to share it with the board, is that we are seeing those pressures already here. We're going to see more pressures over time, and that if we have an overarching ethos of net zero, then we can say, no, we are trying to develop it. These are the parameters that we're doing it in, rather than just saying we have a carrying capacity. But that has to then filter, infuse whatever other sector that's there. And if we can get council to do that, then that elevates that lens that everybody has to look through no matter what they're working on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the ultimate way to solve the climate crisis is to mandate no new children.
Samantha,
Terry,
you
that's all
want?
yours, I'm out on that one. You bring that to council
Right,
or the church.
right, exactly. The, just as a
I didn't hear
little
that.
anecdote, space to create.
We're on Zoom anyway, right? I'll eat it.
High efficiency appliances, so
Yep.
they're already in the step of towards net zero. Now, how would they source their energy from renewables? That's part of that roadmap we haven't developed for them. They don't have room to put solar on the roof there. You know, people can participate totally green, but we're not requiring that, so it's all voluntary. The 14 homes being built here at Wedderhorn are all gonna have solar, they're all gonna have high efficiency appliances. Same's true with one in Uray, same's true with the Sunnyside project in Telluride, same's true of the New Mountain Village project. So the developers, without any requirement, are already seeing the light, so to speak, that this makes sense. You know, this is actually affordable, and it all electric enables the use of energy from the supply mix from tri-state to us. It's already 40% renewable. So every day it gets more renewable. So that's kind of part of the education process of why all electric is like, because it's in the pathway towards net zero just out of the gates, because there's
Right.
no use of fossil fuels locally on that
Right.
site.
And I'm just thinking like, if you have all of those buildings, then those developers probably put some sort of like cost estimate together for what it takes to build. They probably also have some information of like, this is, you know, it was about the same, or it was 10% less or 10% more, that kind of information. But it would be great to have that, because if I'm asking those questions, the public's also gonna ask that,
Oh, yeah.
and councils, I'm sure is gonna
Probably
ask
starts
that,
with
right?
everything I'm saying,
Yeah,
but I just
wanna make sure that that is a component, like a piece that
Oh,
we
that's
can
part of the
talk
vetting.
about.
instrumental, mandatory, given. I mean, I'm not just talking about
It's not just philosophy.
this is not a greenwashing label of being a town trying to get to net zero. This is the goal, and what are the mechanisms? And based upon the tasks of this committee and hopefully every other sector, they do their due diligence to understand that the options are there, so that the same question you just asked as a consumer or as a developer, I can say, you know what, just check with NREL, and they found out that it only is gonna take 1 year to get your return on this. Instead of, if you did go the gas line, you would still be paying the same set of bills for eternity, right? So,
But you're right. I mean, that's part of the education process, to show precedent, show vetted, due diligence on, is it more or less expensive? If it's more expensive, then what's the key value point that justifies the extra expense? If it's less expensive, then it's a slam dunk, and why wouldn't we?
Right.
Those kinds of
And
things.
having like examples that are actually in our area.
Sure.
Because constructing and building in Southwest Colorado is completely different than when you're building in Denver and you're right in, all your resources are right there,
Oh,
right?
totally.
So,
fortunately, like if we just focused on one company, whatever, right?
right,
And there was pressure by the town for them to, do what they didn't do in Norwood, which is, put in heat pumps as part of the build process on site. So that already happened. The other element of that as an analog is that, and a means of discussion is that there are, the deed restriction components of it. If we can get to a point where we're, as a town, and say we are aiming to get to net zero, we also want to be able to incentivize and show that information easily to a developer so they can do it privately and not necessarily have deed restricted elements, but to help them keep their costs down, so that there's other options in there, and it doesn't have to be tied completely. Like even with Josh and Therese are trying to do with smaller footprint houses and efficient houses to make them from a private developer perspective, small potatoes as they would characterize themselves, but to make it available to existing community members.
And there is a timing issue associated with available funding. For example, with Sunnyside, San Miguel Power, through work I did with Tri-State, we managed to get them $131,000 of incentives to go all electric and put solar on. For Space to Create, we got them $114,000. It didn't come up in the keynote addresses and all the hullabaloo. We were quietly helping them, and through not just the standard rebates available, I managed to get Tri-State to give us a $75,000 pot, $750 for 100 homes that go all electric. We burned through that. So now put in 100 all-electric residences through a special pilot program, they called it, but they put in extra money above what Samuel Power was putting in. The reason I bring that up is that in light of the infrastructure bill and the IRA bill, there's a 2 to 3 year window of a massive amount of money that's available to effectuate some of these positive changes that we've got to get on board, with the goals and then the timeline and the roadmap in order to take advantage of some of that. Because afterwards, change in administration or otherwise, it's going to go away. We're going to lose a key advantage to offsetting some of the extra costs of doing it in the Southwest and those kinds of conflicting parameters. So there's a bit of I don't want to use the word anxiety, but I feel the anxiety for writing grants. But there's a near term, it's like, get it while you can. Take that bite of the apple while the apple's on the tree.
And we understand that from the political side of it, it's taking me some adjustment time to understand that I have to think inside the shoes of the human resources in town. And, Preston makes it a priority, to keep the bandwidth of them working sustainably, not have too many things, not take on a grant that we don't have the ability to manage and administrate. So
Also,
that's
the
the
political
understood.
makeup of the town council, the planning committee, not planning commission, the county commissioners, we have an unusual political environment that we need to capitalize, because that could change over time too.
And very well could next spring, this coming spring. And so I think and this is what, and I'm being redundant, but I really want to champion this idea, and I've been thinking about this a lot, is why I would want to take more of this top-down approach with the goal in mind, because even beginning to explain if I come into the conversation and say, here's a one-off incentive to achieve for a developer to build for less money than he expected at all electric.
Yeah.
People gloss over really fast. But if you know that you have to get to this end goal, then you also then have to invest in understanding how to get there. We can facilitate that and enable people with that information. But then they remember it's a show, not a tell.
Also, partnership possibilities. If you get people to buy in and they partner with you, then they feel motivated to achieve the same goal. But it's identifying the goal. It's huge, because it gives everybody, reason to justify the steps.
So Deb, do you feel like we're still talking abstractly, or are you understanding where we're coming from?
No, I know where you're
In
coming
trying
from.
to, I would like to be able to go to the council.
But we can't vote on that until
No.
we have more board members, so we right here can be in
But the
agreement, but
discussion
it's
is-
not,
We can read through this so that we can distill it down for this next round with the other members of the SAB.
Okay.
So given the timeline right now is we have our retreat, the October 17th budget.
Yeah,
16th,
but I think we have, let's see, let me look at the calendar on that.
The 21st. That's right, it's the third week in October.
I'll tell you a little anecdote from today's activities. So you've read in the papers about the complications over trying to augment the heat from the Ray Hot Springs. So the community got together in multiple meetings and completely poo-pooed the idea of using gas as the means for augmenting the heat. So they came, Silas, Preston's equivalent, Ray, came to me a few weeks ago and said, here's the report. We just got this big report that identifies 5 options for using ground source heat pumps, water source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, electric boilers, and it has 5 different options with different costs. So what could you guys do to help us narrow those choices down through any possible incentives that you can come up with in SMPA? Today I got Tri-State. We had a DERMS, a Distributed Energy Resource Management System software meeting with Tri-State, and I sent them that report and said, I want to give you a tour of the Ray Hot Springs so you get a mind's eye of what the problem is here. So we all went out with Tri-State today and toured the hot springs, and they were jazzed. They made the point that this hot spring is one of the main economic drivers of this community. It's one of the things they identify with. You could get behind this and get a lot of public relations benefit out of helping to come up with some out-of-the-box creative funding. Go shake the apple tree, see what falls out, and find some significant funding to help them go with an all-electric solution to augmenting, this historic hot springs. And so they left, one of them went over Red Mountain Pass, scared to death for the first time. She had to get a La Plata, another one went back, got us in the new, we had lunch, and it was just a positive experience to get these old ivory tower paper pushers to
Mhm.
touch and feel what we're working with here in our own communities.
Mhm.
And it's positive, so that's an all, like, potentially all solution. And one of them, just real quickly, a couple of the solutions are really fun. One of them would be drilling new boreholes and taking advantage of the geothermal. But the fear there is that it may depressurize the existing.
The rest, exactly.
Yeah, but another one is to actually, they had a lawsuit over OX2 and OX6, which are their sources. That says they can't use the water. It doesn't say they can't use the heat. It says they can actually process the heat from the existing other wells, tap it through a heat exchanger and water heat exchanger, get the heat out of it and not violate the terms of that lawsuit. The third is taking the effluent, the outflow of the hot springs, which is still at like 70, 80 degrees, run that through a water heat exchanger, tap the energy, put it back in. So that would be kind of fun. It'd be almost like a closed loop. So
To bump it from 70 to 95
to
instead of
110.
110, instead of from 54 to
Right,
110.
right through, yeah, exactly.
October
So go back to the
21st
timeline.
is the budget retreat,
21st.
but the work session or budget workshop is not until November 16th.
Which is after the November council meeting.
Yes,
Um,
so we have two meetings.
What was it?
Between now and then.
21st of
Okay.
September?
We have two more meetings.
So could I make a motion that for our next Sustainability Advisory Board meeting with everybody present, that we've explored the language and in promoting and presenting to the town council that our objectives would be net zero?
I think we have to put on our agenda to discuss and agree on
I
a
agree,
goal to present.
because
to
we don't
council.
have enough of.
I mean, I think we're feeling good, but we have 3 missing members,
Yeah, I
so.
Yeah,
And for me, I'm okay with presenting the idea of our big goal is to be net zero, but I don't want to link a date to it and just say, this is our big goal. But until we kind of talk about timelines and things like that, I don't want to say, we're going for 2027 and it's completely unrealistic or just not feasible. There's a lot of steps that need to
Sure,
happen.
we don't have the data. to
You know,
suggest
so I don't think we want to, I personally don't want to date it. I'm comfortable with having that as a
how
main
about we do
goal.
a discussion on SAB goal, their main goal and timelines to establish that goal.
And in creating the agenda for this next meeting,
That's
telling everybody to go through the
what I'm
cap
referring to, yeah,
and then the different categories,
yeah.
each.
I don't think we could do a timeline for things until like we had more information
Well,
about
let me
resources.
suggest a slightly different approach to that, is that you do put a timeline in, knowing that that timeline can move. The timeline is based upon all the research that would affect that. If during that research, you see that timeline is premature, then we move the timeline. But eventually you have to put a stake in the ground, otherwise it's just, can gets kicked down the road, eternally.
What I'm trying to do is get the members of this board, all of us, because there's likely gonna be other people that'll be absent on this next meeting, but to do the homework, to go into this tracking, the cap tracker. Are there priorities from that you, just as we did last year, you want to put on the agenda for the council to consider, and what the process is as an individual things. I just want us to all do our homework, not just have
Right.
an abstract conversation next
And
week.
while I'm happy with your end goal, I do think we need to flesh it out and have some of the steps. So, the electric ready and followed by the all electric.
Yeah.
And then we can start fitting goals in. How do we do that? So,
True timeline roadmap,
So,
and
Yeah.
knowing that it's gonna change over time. It's gonna
Right.
evolve.
So if we can achieve all electric this year,
Mhm.
and we'll see if that can happen, but if we do, then next year will be the first of our all electric. So electric ready this year, then next year, we're trying to drive all electric,
Which may take 2 or 3 years. to
which may
achieve.
take several years, but that's kind of our focus.
Mhm.
We can also focus on You know, I mean, we won't leave out solar and, you know, green energy and all that during that timeline, but the all-electric is gonna be the major focus for next year and maybe
If I
through
was,
the years after.
if I was to put you on the spot right now and say you were at the podium in front of the town council, could you say that in one, what would you say in one sentence? Just to put you on the spot as an exercise right now, in terms of, my name is Dave Jones, I live in Solar Ranches. Hope that town council, before you now is the information and the code changes at the state level towards all electric. Take it from there. How would you frame it to them in the clearest possible way?
Well, I would say that, and it won't be one sentence, but brief. Our committee's goal, assuming we all agree, is that we, you know, reach the zero energy goal. And to do that, we see some steps, and I'd applaud them for being electric ready as an initial focus in 2023. And I'd say we think over the next 2 or 3 years that we need to try to get to all electric and then move to the next step after that.
And my name's Russ Meyer, and I wanted to interject, Dave, I didn't follow you there. What does all electric mean?
That means that all of your appliances are electric. You don't have gas.
That's-
Which, again, just interesting semantic wise, is we could ban the use of gas for new construction. That's fine. Not, not.
But I think that's just an item for discussion, right? If we
Yeah.
say our goal is to be net zero, then we as an entity can talk about the different ways that we could promote that, and that's certainly one of them. But it sounds like,
But the approach on that is so important because the communities that have, when it's out on the street that the objective is to ban gas, all of a sudden you've created this dividing line in the sand and people are like, we want our gas.
Right.
We want our option. We don't want this to be regulated by you damn greenies.
Right.
So, but if you put out that we are working towards all electric, the consequence of that is one of those things is to get away from natural gas.
Right.
And then it begs a more of a Socratic discussion of, well, there are restaurants that still want to cook on gas. There are going to be people that want to cook on, and that's been a big thing. You know, of course, that's been
That was one of the exceptions, is that you allow gas for
commercial spaces. Yeah, and so to be able to have all of those, and, you know, those comps ready for explanation. But I think that's really important language to flesh out early on and how we even present it to council.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
first impressions are always key.
yeah, yeah.
So at this point, I would like some specific direction on what you would like to see at the next council, or the next board meeting.
SAB meeting. Well, it would be a continuation
board
of this
meeting, yeah.
discussion with everybody included to figure out what the three, or without putting a number on it, what are the primary things to present to the council ahead of the October or even the November meeting for the 2024 strategic plan.
So pretty much what we have.
The focus pieces, and I think we should get ahead of it in the email following up from this meeting, that all of us revisit those individually so that we're clear on those, and then we can discuss and vet those at this next meeting. And I'm happy to write out that email to everybody at on the SAB board.
If you want to send that to me,
First,
and yeah,
and
and then I can get it out,
so
yeah.
you and I can draft it
Yeah.
and send it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the term sustainability, which is the key term in the name of this board, is central to the mission, I think it's important that we draw a link between this goal of net zero and the term sustainability. The simple link is that using fossil fuels is not sustainable from the planet's future. That's the clear, simplest answer. But sustainability, of course, can mean many different things. There's many different areas of sustainability. This is one that this board has chosen to prioritize. prioritize, to use the word here, is sustainability and energy supply. And that, the mechanism for that is going there.
And I don't wanna throw this totally off, because I think that what we're doing is important, but I'd also, like, when we were looking at the electrification bill and stuff like that, and things going to council, like, we kind of had all this downtime, so I would also love for us to maybe consider like another small goal objective to target in 2024, and maybe because we are a sustainability board, it could be something besides electrification, because there's already like zebra and like all this stuff, there's so much focus on electrification, but if we could like maybe have a small one on the side that we can actually get done in 24, maybe it's like reducing waste, right? That's generated through one of the things in waste and material selection, or something in the food sector, like,
I wasn't being exclusive
Yeah.
to energy when I said that for this next meeting. I mean, all
Yeah.
of these sectors that are in here. mean,
I just wanted to throw that out there, as it would be also nice to have some like small achievable thing that we could, yeah, a short term.
Revisiting landscaping requirements.
As you did in
Right.
the last.
Pushing more towards the xeriscaping side. What is the next level? we can
Right,
get
and
to?
there's all these amazing things on here that, you know, are kind of like in progress, underway, or like status is complete zero, right? There's nothing that's been done on it.
No thought given.
Yeah, right. So like, just doing something like that, I think I would love for us to consider that. You know, I'm just,
I wasn't discarding those. I was gonna
Right.
say inherently in this letter that I was gonna draft now with
Totally.
that all of those things be
Yeah.
considered for us as a board to consider and see which ones are actionable, functional, and achievable.
yeah. Right, and no, I'm not saying that you were saying excluding, I was just trying to plant the seed now.
Mhm.
So then, you know, when we talk next week, it's like, here's our big goal, but like, you know, maybe we look at plastic film upcycling program, and how do we integrate that? Maybe our goal for 2024 is looking at like a collection place, and could town like have a area that everyone takes their plastic, they could drop it off, and
Low hanging fruit.
right, exactly, like something that we can actually achieve in 2024.
Yeah.
I'm just,
I hear you. It was inside my
Okay.
noggin. I didn't articulate it. I wish I could just open up.
Osmosis
No more
it.
airplanes can land.
And
Right, yeah, we're out of nowhere.
And even-
Thank you, Joyce, for bringing that up, because I think that will put a little, a little buffer, if you
Mhm.
will, in the big picture when it's presented.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd also like to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
My passion doesn't mean, I'm gonna go steamroll them just with electrification issues.
Mhm.
It's across the spectrum. And as a matter of fact, that example you just gave was something we discussed at that last meeting at SMPA last week, right? And it's specifically about the balers and trying to find a cost-effective way to do more recycling locally.
Mhm.
And so, you weren't even at that meeting?
No, I
So
wasn't.
it was by osmosis.
I got it, yeah.
So,
The only thing I'd like to, this is my personal request for this board, in light of back to electricity, that I'm sorry, just because that's what I do. In light of the master plan survey results coming out, I don't know what that date is, the next meeting, it's coming up soon. The master plan, remember,
The survey results of,
the master plan,
the
excuse me,
athletic
the athletic park.
oh, the athletic park, okay,
Not the
okay,
athletic.
sorry, I lost you there. Oh.
That, just historically, when I was working with the town, with the idea of the microgrid and Preston and to identify sites and lift Green Street, the athletic park master plan was not an issue, it hadn't surfaced. It happened in recent weeks or months, so that kind of threw a wrench in my progress of trying to get the town to approve the use of that land. It may or may not happen, but one thing I would like is if this board could adopt the position to recommend to council that they support the use of town property in the athletic field for the micro. Which is actually where the
Didn't
council.
that happen the last
The town council it's never been brought before them to actually approve. The
Oh.
mechanism that I need in order to go use the money from the plan agreements, I need a land lease option agreement signed.
I think what the board did was they supported it. They didn't
They
actually,
support the idea, but
The
now,
idea,
now
yeah.
that the question is in front of the athletic park master plan, it's now going to receive attention it received premature attention from the public without there being without the whole sales.
so
pitch.
that I can put on the next agenda as
For
well.
the SAB, I'd like
Yeah.
the SAB to decide whether or
Yeah.
not they would go to the town council and recommend the town
It's up to you guys.
support that.
I think we need to make a motion in a language that says that dear town council, the sustainability advisory board collectively supports the idea of a microgrid on town property. And as we become, one contingent, just like.
No, I agree. There's a meeting coming up in 9 days.
Yes, but that meeting is just another public meeting, to go over
But they're gonna have a couple of,
they have a couple of
we
different
decide-
designs,
You
so.
didn't come.
But we need to bring this before the SAB's next meeting.
Terry got thrown under the bus by Preston.
uh,
And it was a bit of a shocker for all of us, how passionate the different people from, and I keep going back to pickleball and baseball especially. I've had so many people talk to me, bend my ear, defending baseball, the number of user days, all of that. People are coming in strong with their specific interests
Right.
and lobbying, right? And even some people that I would think that out of the gate, their top priority would be the microgrid, totally surprised me and came in more passionately of like, no, the big town master plan promised an official sized baseball diamond and it's gotta happen. And so people are, I think it would, to Terry's point, I think we should discuss that further at the next meeting and figure out if we want to, as a board, officially make a letter saying that we are behind pursuing the microgrid.
So
And not pickle.
two updates, one back to that meeting. So the meeting was designed to look at all the options of what people would be interested in supporting in the athletic park. And Preston put up a graphic that had the 2 acres already identified in the microgrid. People are like, what?
What?
What is that? You know, where'd that come from? And he explained that this has been in the works for over a year. We've been looking at this.
Hmm.
What I didn't get to do on the fly was make a systematic case for the benefits of the microgrid. The benefit being that it's going to back up the entire town for 4 to 6 hours back up. That it's going to provide a source of local solar energy, renewables for the town, all the various benefits. It was more about asking people, flinging questions about, does it require a fence? Is it blah, blah, blah. All the details where they can develop a uninformed opinion without hearing all the information. That still has to occur with the community. I need to be able to give a proper description of why this is something you should get behind. You know, one of the simple.
Have you reached out to to DHM about this next meeting coming up?
I have, I'll get to that here.
Oh,
One of the simple examples is, you know, and I made it to somebody in the Facebook post, which I shouldn't have done, which is the benefit of having 4 to 6 hours of backup power in an emergency and clean energy. Does that supersede the need for your, children, the 90 kids in the county that would use the baseball field once every 3 weeks, only during the summer, that kind of thing. So how would you prioritize the benefit of that same land? That's a bad analogy because it evokes passions on so many sides. The update, though, I talked to Preston to see if I could get a sneak preview of what the survey results showed. He said there was definitely a lot of pros and a lot of cons on the idea of the use of the property for microgrids, but what is it, DHM? DHM is going to present 2 layouts, and both of them include the baseball, the pickleball, and the microgrid.
yeah, they both do.
Both options will fit.
Right.
So it's not that one's going to be at the expense of the other.
Good.
And that needs to
It's just a different design.
just different placements.
Right.
And I was wondering about that as I drove into town just now to get to this meeting and saw that all the sprinklers were on the soccer fields and 87 degrees on the thermometer on the soccer fields out there right now. And it's like, how, you know, so I was like, it just reminded me of the assumptions I made, of even people that I've seen at rock meetings that are, I think of as greenies, pushing back and saying solar panels aren't supposed to go on athletic fields. So that's the kind of rudimentary reaction
Well,
that's coming back.
Well, and the interesting thing there is, it's town-owned property that they called an athletic. So it wasn't mandated that the whole would used to be for an athletic field, but most people assume that,
Assume that.
but it's still town.
And
property.
still are assuming that. That's what I just got back. They were like, no, you said that's all over there, that's gonna be athletic.
Because I agree with you.
Promise.
Why would you put solar panels on an athletic? Field? Well, it's currently not an athletic field, it's dead property.
And soggy. So, all right,
yeah, and water management on the town parks, I think would be great.
all right, let's note that as a priority. And we did have a
Whether it's-
discussion.
On the school property?
Yeah, I just, as I was driving in,
On the schools.
on the school field over the soccer field, like, and who timed that?
Right.
You know,
The
We're
timing
gonna bring
is,
that field back.
do it at night.
when it rains, you turn it off, do it at night, the whole
Same
water
true with the
management.
lighting. The light shines in my bathroom window
Yeah,
every night. It casts a shadow on the bathroom window at night.
I'll add that to my conversation with Susan Lacy, which is coming up here. She does that.
It's the dark sky committee. Val Schwartz has been all over that for a while. Anyway, thank you for entertaining that issue, because I think if it's gonna happen, it has to be supported by the SEB and eventually supported by the town council. That helps influence community's opinion. And then have to go through this strategic communication process to garner support for it. Right now, it got thrown up against the wall like a bowl of spaghetti, and everybody's like, well, I don't like the way that one looks. It was too helter-skelter.
It was a helter-skelter meeting. It was a little overwhelming and a total surprise. So, and I don't doubt that will happen. You
For
know,
example, how not to go about it.
yeah. Alrighty, so
So next meeting, on the agenda, we will have, we'll kind of reword this, prioritize projects, initiative goals to recommend to town council for the 2024 work plan. Does that work for all of you? And then I'll also add on there discussion regarding support of the microgrid at Athletic Park. That's,
and JT, if you want to
does that,
prior to that
are
meeting,
you all in agreement with
talk
that?
a little bit about what money
Okay,
we might put together on paper, and I could do that
put together on paper for,
for what we would propose to the committee in a month. Yeah,
Okay.
have that discussion.
specifically on the electrification side of things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Yes.
um,
And the other thing I was gonna say, Deb, in this letter that I'm gonna send you, I'm thinking that it will be good for everybody else that's not here. I'll try to put a short paragraph in of the synopsis about that we spent the bulk of this time talking about the net zero part of it. And
yeah, and
just as a
just, yeah, for
segue,
consideration, so they need to.
so they have a little
this
background going into the next.
Going into the next meeting, yeah.
And
Okay.
can we also,
I'll write it and I'll send it and then I'll
Okay.
come back.
And then we still need to approve the minutes for the August 2nd meeting.
Can I make a motion? That we approve the minutes of the August 2nd, 2023 meetings.
second,
All in favor?
Oh,
I-
all right.
Oh,
I was like, do we need, I thought it was in the second.
Oh, yeah, second's fine on this one.
yes, second.
So it's minutes.
so, I mean, the other thing that would be good to discuss next meeting, if we have time, is question of the 3-year term versus 1, 2, 3-year terms, staggered terms.
Well, one is
Um,
out already, or
Right.
1-year term is
Yeah, but
already out.
even now, with the way it's
So-
written, we're gonna bring somebody in who's got a 2-year term, because, so that we all expire at the same time.
Mhm.
So discussion of term
Is
limits
that
versus.
something you guys want to put on? That's a big agenda,
It is, if we get to it. But
in 2 hours.
Put that as the final item.
Okay, we
And-
can always move it if we don't make it. We can
Right.
just move it to the next meeting.
Right.
Okay, so discussion on term, board terms.
And even if it gets pushed back as well, mechanism to get youth advisory board interested in sustainability?
That's already in the works. Preston's been working on that. We put out applications and stuff to the students, and actually the school was very responsive in getting out that information to the students, and we haven't had a lot of response.
I think what
You have what?
We didn't have a lot of response.
I think the last part of his sentence was to get the youth advisory committee interested in sustainability.
Right, but we don't have a youth advisory.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe part of the advertisement.
So it might be more of maybe doing something with this board that we could have a liaison from the school.
That's been my goal. It's been,
Yeah.
that's why I brought that up, because I've
Yeah,
communicated that multiple times to Preston, and I don't know what's happened inside with you guys.
We
Tell
have
me
not
about
done
it.
anything because we've been trying to get, the council really wanted to have a youth council. And we haven't really been able to in the last couple of years get enough students that are interested in doing it to have the time to do it. So I will put that on and that might be part of discussion on board terms and maybe appointment of a liaison from the school, from as a student liaison. I'm just throwing this out there.
I feel like I'm having a deja vu moment, because I feel like I've discussed this with Preston. And also, we put it on his agenda to have us as town council go to the school and explain to them what we do and all of that. And I haven't heard any. We've already recommended that a couple times, and it's not come back.
For the SAB,
Preston.
I was aware of that.
But we've had it in council meetings where we've suggested that we
Okay.
as council members go to the school.
Okay, well,
And it's part and parcel of that.
you know, that's part of my job is as on this board is to what you guys want to see happen. So let me address that. If that's something you want me to address, I will, for sure.
If that's the
So,
case, can you just give us an update on if the different committees have also been presented to this, you know, we had told Preston at that board meeting 2 months ago that council wanted with the advertisement of the youth advisory board, that they understand that there were all these other committees that they could learn about and participate in,
sure. I'll check
including
it out.
sustainability advisory.
Okay, okay,
Exclusively.
yeah,
Deb, with this timing being with the budget, are we trying to identify goals and determine if there is a budget request for
So that's a separate topic. So
Okay.
another topic, would be, does this board want to ask the council to put funds aside for training, seminars, for anything like that? So that's another thing that really should be looked at.
Yeah.
Because I know that, like for the website, we have, you know, all the advertisement, all the printing, all that stuff. Do we want to ask for a line item for the SAB?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would
What
be
would
nice
that
to
amount
have-
be? And, you know, and because that will need to come up before the November meeting.
All right, so yeah, let's prioritize that, because
So,
even with the issue of this summit that we're, a couple of us, Terry and I and John are going right now.
right, yeah, and that wasn't budgeted for, but, you know, Preston knew that there was a need for it, so, yeah,
Yeah,
So
so
that'd
that,
be a great idea to have a line item budget for
Right.
sustainability.
okay,
You could identify ways it could be spent, and in any given year, it may not all be spent.
yeah.
But having it
So that is something.
And I don't think it would be anything big unless it's like, we have an item where we're like, we need to hire someone to help with X, Y, and
Well, it could be
Z. but-
travel or training, it could be that.
It could be, yeah, I mean, this training,
Well, but no, I'm saying
There's
like,
years.
it could be something small, like, you know, $2,000 or something, and it's likely for travel, trading, like miscellaneous printing expenses, marketing, whatever.
Yeah.
But then.
that's a question for,
Yeah.
for a meeting, yeah, for sure.
Stipend for each board member.
yes, okay.
That's not gonna happen.
So to be clear, on this next meeting, the
So-
Sustainability Advisory Board, to
I-
discuss that we request from town council in their budget retreat, that they create a line item so that we can have a budget of our own to manage as a board.
So, yeah, and it may not come through that way because this is a town board. So we may just have the board write a letter and say, we would like this as our annual budget amount. Because you're already a board, you're already part of, so, yeah.
Oh, I see.
So I'll find out what the best way is to approach that.
Is that
So we've got
Pam?
like 5 items on this next agenda. So put your hats on and. So I'm gonna just go over this really quickly, just to make sure we're all in agreement that this is what we have for the next. Obviously, we have the prioritized projects, initiative goals to recommend to council. We have the discussion regarding supporting the microgrid at the athletic park. We have the discussion on board terms. And the somewhere in there, I'm gonna put in there about youth advisory, something about something, I'll figure that one out. And then the last one would be the budget for the 2024 budget for the SAB. I'll figure out the wording on that one as well. So
I'm not
does
sure.
that cover everything?
Yeah, I'm not sure it needs to be an agenda item, but another thing to discuss in the next SCB is the success and lessons learned from the drive and ride EV event. Just to have
A follow-up.
presentation.
Yeah,
And we can let's set some time parameters on some of these things on our agenda moving forward. So like the letter to town about money.
yeah, we can,
Discuss it for 15 minutes.
yeah, we can just say how much you guys want to ask for and what are you seeing that we use it for and just.
That's
So-
pretty common if you go to.
Oh, yeah,
to a
absolutely.
town council meeting to tell you, right, they have a time.
And every single council meeting during budget season here, it's like, this is what we want, and
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just to prioritize, just to say on the agenda,
EV.
if you, I'm asking a favor, if you would say like on that item, can you say 15 minutes max discussion? To put that on the agenda.
okay, I'm gonna put discussion item 15 minutes or less,
Let's work with it. See what kind of
something
pushback
like
we
that,
get.
because most discussion
loud ones
items
like
really, yeah. We'll see how you guys do with that.
I'm just gonna throw a dollar.
I will,
there.
I can absolutely shut you down.
We can take a look at your agenda items and you can assign
Yeah.
suggested time slots, some of the agenda. items.
Yeah, because
Some
we're
of
gonna
them
need a
should be
lot of
short.
time, and you know what, just know that this prioritize, it's not gonna happen in one meeting, it'll probably happen in 2.
Mhm.
You know, but
But I'm glad
We'll
the paint's
see.
been thrown against the wall.
we'll see, you know, if we can. Yeah, okay, so we've got, it's 7 o'clock right now, I think, we've got the minutes approved. Do you guys have anything else, JT?
No.
Okay, that was a lot of stuff, so good.
I would like to adjourn the Wednesday, September 6th, 2023 meeting of the Sustainability Advisory Board.
Second.
7:01 PM,
Great. 7:02 now, but.
7:02
I'm
PM.
just kidding.
He makes the motion, he seconds, you're the only one who gets to vote.
That's right.
Because they've already voted.
Let me stop this recording.
And